round infected by the same quiet delusion. We think our timeline is endless. We push the hard work to tomorrow, assuming tomorrow is a guaranteed deposit in our account. There's an old parable of a wealthy kid who spent his youth entirely paralyzed by comfort. Scrolling screens, sleeping in. Time is the only resource in the universe that operates on a strictly non-renewable basis. You can't earn it back, and sitting around waiting for luck to strike is a statistical guarantee of failure. Hiding from the ticking clock doesn't stop the hands from moving. It simply ensures that the bill will eventually come due, and your future self will be stuck paying an impossible debt of regret. Let's pull this out of philosophy and look at a very specific reality. Imagine a man weighing nearly 136 kilograms. He's barely literate. He spends his nights spraying for cockroaches in dead-end diners, making minimum wage. Behind that exterminator's uniform is a childhood defined by extreme physical abuse and poverty. If you looked at his file, any rational society would hand him a pass. They would accept his trauma as a completely valid excuse to live quietly at the bottom. So how does a human brain rewrite that code? What exact psychological override takes a mind from that ultimate rock bottom to becoming David Goggins, widely considered the toughest man on earth? You don't make that jump by watching a motivational video or waiting for a burst of inspiration. Escaping the gravity of the comfort trap requires a cold, engineered psychological override that refuses to bargain with the body's urge to quit. Transformation begins with radical acceptance. You cannot patch a sinking ship until you isolate the exact points of failure in the entire hull. You have to look at the damage without blinking. For Goggins, this meant completely unplugging. No internet, no smartphone, no external noise. Just pure, uncomfortable silence, where he was forced to stand in front of a mirror and confront his own physical and mental rot. Seeing those flaws clearly forces a binary choice. Absolute responsibility demands that you either sign a contract to remain mediocre or build a system to conquer the fear. This requires a deeply unpleasant realization. No savior is coming to rescue you. Using your past trauma to harvest sympathy from others is a strategic dead end that yields zero forward momentum. Radical acceptance identifies the target, and absolute responsibility provides the cognitive energy to hit it. It's the exact logic that drove him to drop the weight and lock his sights on Navy SEAL training. Standard motivation relies on a chemical high that evaporates under stress. Survival requires progalpin, a state of obsession that remains functional long after the inspiration runs out. Consider Navy SEAL Hell Week. It is not an endurance test. It is a highly engineered 5.5-day gauntlet specifically designed by the military to break human psychology. Look at these candidates. They are submerged in freezing Pacific surf for hours on end, arms linked, shivering uncontrollably. They must entirely detach from their biological desire for warmth. To stay in that water, the mind has to sever its connection to the body's alarm systems. The exact moment you start bargaining for comfort, the environment wins and you ring the bell to quit. This obsession serves as a tactical weapon, allowing a person to use their own suffering to override the brain's most deeply ingrained survival instincts. You see this same mechanism at the Badwater Ultramarathon. This is a landscape completely hostile to human life, a massive, desolate salt flat that looks like the surface of another planet. Forcing your body to run over 100 miles while the ambient temperature hits 120 degrees Fahrenheit is physiological madness. Organs shut down, muscles liquefy. This chart tracks his 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, diverging from the flat line of average failure. It exposes the governor. When your brain screams exhaustion, you're only at 40% capacity. It's a false quit signal, leaving 60% of your potential untouched. These shattered world records and extreme physical endurance are the concrete data points proving a massive internal shift. They are the external evidence of a mind that has been stripped of its excuses. Which brings us back to that eroding clock we started with. While you get tangled up in trivial daily dramas and wait for the perfect moment to start, your expiration date is quietly approaching. The man who used to spray for cockroaches now stands as a global symbol of resilience. He proves that the sequence of acceptance, responsibility, and total obsession actually yields results. Your ultimate trajectory isn't defined by your starting point, your genetics, or your bank account. It is dictated entirely by your capacity to voluntarily absorb and embrace suffering. You are left with a very simple choice. You can either walk into the agonizing pain of discipline today, or you can join that boy from the parable and swallow the permanent, inescapable regret of a wasted life. The illusion of infinite time is over. The clock is ticking. The only logical response left is to get to work.